Okay, so we're going to bring up our next celebrity speaker, who we're really honored to have here, Lee Milteer. Many of you know Lee. Dan and Lee have worked together for many, many years. And Lee is actually the person that created the Renegade Millionaire program with Dan Kennedy. Who has the Renegade Millionaire program? Who has it? Oh, only a few. Look around, okay? Renegade Millionaire program is really, really cool. What she did is she went through literally everything Dan has ever written, ever said, all audio tapes, all that kind of stuff, and constructed the entire program, which is based on a question and answer, her asking Dan these questions. So it's really fascinating. She raised herself from very, very humble beginnings. She began as a poor, it sounds like that's not true, but it is, a poor small-town farm girl, and raised herself up to where she is today. She's overcome many obstacles, many adversities, and helped other people as that. Dan calls Lee GKIC's Annie Oakley. So maybe we should call her Annie Oakley. So we got DRC, we got Annie Oakley. She would love that. All right. She has, but here's the beauty about Lee, is that she has a combination which I don't know where you can get anywhere else, where she's got the mindset, but she also has the marketing and the business sense all tied into one. There's a lot of mindset people, right? There's a lot of marketing people, but for the two to come together is really, really powerful. And for her to understand the GKIC style, Dan Kennedy style of marketing makes her such a valuable team member at GKIC. And her passion is helping entrepreneurs use their potential and talents to make the money and have the lifestyle that they want. Now, she is our peak performers coach. She's also the founder of the Millionaire Smarts program, which is a done-for-you coaching program for coaches. And she has clients literally all over the world that use her program to supplement their own programs with her mindset materials. She's the author of 11 different books. She's trained over 1 million people in her career, and she's got a new book coming out in the spring. Her corporate client roster is unbelievable. Disney, FedEx, AT&T, Xerox, IBM, Ford Global, NASA, American Express, and on and on and on. She's also shared the stage with some of the most important thought leaders of our time. The late, great Zig Ziglar, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Stephen Covey, Dr. Phil, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield, Chuck Norris, George Foreman, and of course her most famous accomplishment and the thing she's most proud of is me. She's shared it with me. That was a joke. Come on now. Come on. Hey, they all can't be winners. They all can't be home run, okay? And in recognition of her active support of animal rescue organizations and diverse charities, as well as her contribution to mankind, human values, and the quality of character of her achievements, Lee was awarded the title of Dame from one of the oldest orders of the knighthood in the world. So you guys are in for a treat. Are your pens ready? Because now, are your pads ready? All right, because here's the deal. If you listen to Emmett Smith, what are the two things Emmett talked about for his success? He talked about his coaches and mindset. Coaches and mindset. That's the message he kept putting forth. Lee's going to explain how to make it practical for you. All right? So let's get our energy up. Everyone on our feet, on our feet. Get on your feet, get on your feet. And let's hear it for the one, the only, Lee Milteer. Really loud now. Come on. I need it louder than that. All right.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to tell a little story on you right now. Dave and I were on the phone about a week ago, and he asked me how I was, and I said, my ass got kicked, I fell off a horse. And he was silent for a second. He said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. I said, I have been riding my entire life, and a friend of mine wanted me to try out a 2-year-old stallion, and I said, I was very cocky about that. And he said, just cocky about that? I'm very delighted to be here. It's a great crowd, and I wanted to show you my red boots. Texas, yes. And I have found that you can actually find jewelry for boots. Isn't that amazing? All right, we're going to have a fantastic day today, and what I want to talk about is how you can leap to the next level and literally manifest anything that you want. This works? Where do I point this? To you. Yes? There. I'm going to tell you a little something about myself, but Dave told you a lot. I grew up on a farm on a ranch, a mile and a half from the nearest secondary road in Chuckytuck, Virginia. And interesting place, population 60. And a few years ago, just before my dad passed away, I was up riding my horse, and this government car drove up. And this guy gets out, and he says to my father, "I'd like to inspect your land." And he was a DEA agent. And my father said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, there's been illegal pot being grown in the area." And my father said, "No problem, you can inspect the land." And he said, "However, please don't go up to the north pasture on the right." And when he said that, the DEA agent got livid, and he pulls out of his back pocket this badge, and he shoves it in my father's face. My father was 6'5", 285 pounds, and not afraid of anyone. And he shows it in my father's face, and he says, "Do you see this badge? I am from the federal government. That means I can go anywhere I want, anytime, any place, no questions asked, no answers given. You got it, big guy?" My father nodded very politely and said, "Yes, however, please do not go." And at that, the guy exploded again. So off he goes. My father and I go back in the barn. We're messing with the horses. And about 5 minutes later, we hear this screaming. And the DE agent is screaming at the top of his lungs and screaming, "Help, help, what should I do?" My father drops all his tools, runs to the fence, looks at the guy. The guy was being chased by my father's prize bull, who was right on his tail. He was about to get gored by the bull, and he's screaming, "What should I do?" And so my father yells out, "Your badge, your badge, show him your badge." Speaking of government insanity, I wanted to, Dan sent me this some time ago. It's our airport screening results. Statistic of the airport screening from the Department of Homeland Security. Terrorists discovered, 0. Transvestites, 133. Hernias, 1,400. Hemorrhoid cases, 3,000. Enlarged prostates, 8,000. Breast implants, 59,000. And natural blondes, 3. It was also discovered that 535 members of Congress had no balls. I'm going to tell you a little something about myself. This was a gift from Dan for Christmas. I figure if a girl wants to be a legend, she should go ahead and be one, Calamity Jane. This is a picture of me at 3 years old on the farm with one of my dad's horses. And you can see I was a natural blonde, yes. I grew up in an interesting, difficult environment. And there are moments in your life that you have to realize, and this weekend could be one of them, that things happen to you that you don't understand why they happen, but they have an impact on you that forms and shapes you forever. And these moments in your life you have to recognize. So you can choose to see adversity as difficult, or you can see it as honing you to be powerful and strong. This is always your choice, because your one power in life is choice. So I was the firstborn to Horace and Esther Milteer. Big guy dad, little teeny mother, very traditional woman, farmer's daughter, ranch. When I was born, the very first memory that I remember, and this is kind of sad, was my mother telling people how disappointed my father was that I was a girl. Now, we all know that's a very damaging thing. However, what it made me be is this kick-ass, take-no-prisoners kind of gal. Because I didn't know it at the time, but I was being shaped to be strong. So I was pretty much brought up to be a boy. Because if you grow up on a ranch and a farm, boys are valuable, and girls were not seen as valuable. So by the time I was 3 years old, I could ride. By the time I was 7, I could literally outshoot anybody. By the time I was 8 or 9, I could drive a tractor, drive a car, could do anything. A very significant thing happened to me when I was 12 years old. As I came home from school one day, and we had 5 big farms and ranches. And my father was very upset, and he was standing at the door when I got home. And he had my rifle in his hand and my horse saddled. And he said, "Our foreman has been really hurt bad. And I need you to now become the foreman of 37 people up on our ranch, and we had crops that had to be taken care of. And he said, the only power you have to give them to motivate them is water and your encouragement. That's it. And we have a deadline. Rains are coming. It could swamp us. We have to get this harvested. So I saddle up, I go up to that field, and again, I'm 12 years old. And I somehow managed to get these people to do 110 acres worth of work in a record amount of time. And my nickname became at the time, one more row, meaning before we rest, before we get water, one more row, let's get one more row. And what that changed my life, it was a significant moment in my life to realize how powerful you can be when the necessity is there. Have you experienced that? Yes. And so I'm just going to tell you that, again, the bad things that happen to you, you think, are going to break you, but they actually steel you to make you very strong. Another significant thing happened in my life that changed my life was when I was in the 7th grade, I came into a classroom where they insisted that we make speeches. And I was very scared, very nervous about making the speech. And my teacher was named Mrs. Lane. And Mrs. Lane said, if you speak on something you truly love and are passionate about, it doesn't make any difference if you're perfect or not. If you show your enthusiasm and you're authentic about it, you will be a great speaker. And so it was my turn to speak, and I didn't know what to speak about, so I had planned a speech, and then at the last minute felt like it was a lame speech, and at the last second started talking about horses and my incredible love for horses. And I just talked about horses. And when I finished my speech, my teacher was in the back of the room, and she was a little dumbstruck. And finally she said, "Oh my God, you actually do something well." So this is another little moment in my life. In high school, I was a super average student. I did not like school at all. As a matter of fact, any opportunity to skip school was in my plans. And I had an opportunity one day when they said, was there anybody in the whole school who would like to go sell the yearbook? My hand shot up and like, anything to get the hell out of here. Yes, I'll do that. And what I realized, I wasn't afraid of selling, even though I knew nothing about it, because my father had said no to me about everything my entire life. I had learned to negotiate with him. And so that changed my life because suddenly I realized that I knew how to communicate with people. And I spent my entire high school literally in the guidance council office. I drove the guy insane, every day saying, what should I do? Because the list of things for women to do was pretty short. Be a teacher, be a nurse, those kind of things. And I would say to him every day, I can't do any of those things. What am I gonna do? But when I found sales, I realized that just because I grew up poor, and I grew up poor, I had to wear secondhand clothes from my cousin, and let me tell you, these were ugly clothes. My prom picture was, I was so humiliated by this dress. I remember when they took the picture, I just closed my eyes like, oh, take me away, God, this is too bad. But what that did is now, there's no limit to what I'll spend on clothes and jewelry and, treat myself, because I made that decision very young. I deserve that. In your whole life, there's, again, these moments that will influence you forever. I got out of high school. I became a rock and roll disc jockey. But by the way, the truth is I wasn't out of high school. I kind of fibbed and told the story to the radio station that I was out of high school. But I actually took an adult job in high school as a rock and roll disc jockey. And that made me blossom and pull out of a shell of being very shy and withdrawn. That's hard to believe today, isn't that? From that, I went into sales in the radio business, and from the radio business started an electronic background music firm. Life seemed to be great. I became a photographer and traveled around the world and did landscape photography. And then on Christmas Eve one night, as a photographer, I had just shot the Rolling Stones concert. Had gone to a dark room somewhere else, and when I came home, the police were surrounding my house. My husband had been murdered, shot in the face at the front door. I did not think I was going to survive that. I didn't leave the house for almost a year. I didn't think that I would ever recover from that. And for that year, where I was just so down and out and so on my knees and, basically asked God to please, almost take me because this was such a horrible thing. The man that I loved the most was gone. Something bubbled up inside of me, and one of the things I had heard from the universe people was, you should be a speaker. You should be a teacher. You should be a writer. And I remember thinking, man, I can't even write a paper in school and get it there on time. I mean, how am I ever going to write anything? How am I going to get in front of people? Who's going to listen to me, a farmer's daughter from Chuckytuck, Virginia, and who gives a damn about what I have to say? But after my husband got killed and I realized I was at the depth of my depth, I had nothing to lose. So I got myself up, started going to the library, started reading everything there was, Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Believing, every thought leader you can think. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. Now, I had to do other things to make a living. I was in commercial real estate for a short time, really didn't like that. But even that commercial real estate unpleasant experience led me to being where I am today, which everything in your life leads you to be where you are today. So we have to be grateful for those things because they look kind of crappy at the time sometimes, but they really are the gifts that we get from the universe of where we can be. And we're always being guided. We just never really realize that. So bad things that happen, we're being guided into a place that we should be for our soul. So I decided to become the speaker. I got myself going. I did 153 free speeches in the world before I ever got paid. And it's a good thing. They weren't very good. And you've got to be willing to do things free for a while because that's where you really learn how to do it. And when you get to the point that, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? I failed. So what? And I really want you to write those two words down. So what? Because a lot of times you're so afraid to take risk. And all you got to do is say, so what? So what if it doesn't work out? This is the great thing about being an entrepreneur. If this doesn't work out, there's always something else to do. And so you in your life realize that you're being led in a way to go to where you want to go. So the professional speaking thing worked out. I've been on the road for a very long time. I used to do public seminars from 9 to 4. I did 100 cities a year for 6 straight years. And that's how I got all those big corporate clients. Because these people would come to these seminars and see me and go back to Walt Disney or AT&T or Ford Global and say, wow, I saw this woman, Lee Milteer, and I really like her, and we should hire her. And other people aren't willing to do that kind of work and have that kind of work ethic. I was at the bank to get some money for this trip. And the bank president came to me, and she knows what I do. And she said to me, I have a question for you. She said, I hired this guy 30 days ago, young guy. And he said to me yesterday, I have come here to work every day on time for 30 days. Why have I not been promoted? And so she said to me, what should she do? And I said, put him on your list to be fired. Give him one warning. But see how the world thinks? There was a cartoon just a few weeks ago, I can't even tell you which one it was, and there was a young man looking for a job, and the job recruiter said something to him about, I don't have any jobs for pay, but there's a big company over here, and you can be an intern, and you can work for free, but it's an in. And he goes, in? What does that mean? And she goes, well, you'll get an in, you'll get a chance to show your stuff. And he goes, but there's no pay, I pass. And that is why the civilians of the world, if you haven't heard me, how many of you have heard me speak before? All right, well, you know how I feel about civilians, right? Now, by the way, there's probably some good civilians in here because you're here. But civilians are people who have paychecks and they got guarantees, and no matter if they perform or not, they get that. They have no concept of what it is to be creative. They follow other people's rules and regulations, and they're usually very closed-minded. But entrepreneurs, we realize all we have to do, I can smell money. Can you smell money? Seriously, can you smell money? Can you feel it? You can scan the landscape and see where there are pockets of money. And you have to ask yourself every day when you wake up, where is the money for me today? Where can I go? What can I do? And your intuition is so important that you listen to it, because it's your intuition that says, you should call so-and-so. And if you don't call them, you might have missed a really big deal. And I live by my intuition because growing up in a very dysfunctional, alcoholic, raging father reality, I realized that I could not trust the reality I was in. So I developed this incredibly strong intuition. And intuition is your instincts. And entrepreneurs know how to listen to their instincts. We are the creators and the deliberate creators of the world. And if we don't listen to that instinct, you miss great opportunities. So the bottom line, and my story is very long, but the bottom line is I am here today out of sheer hard work, being willing to suffer through a lot of unbelievable adversities and difficulties. And I had that choice. I could have just given up as a child, given up as a young woman whose husband got killed, just given up that life was too hard. Or I could decide, you know, this is my adventure. Why not have fun on this adventure? And most people go through life kicking and screaming, dragging their ass through life, getting up in the morning needing coffee to make them excited about the day. Let me tell you something. Before my husband got killed, we were photographers and we traveled around the world. We talked about all these fantastic things we were going to do. We were always talking about what we were going to do. And when he got killed, I realized the past is a locked door, the future is my imagination, and the only thing I have is right this second, and I better damn well be enjoying right now, because there is no guarantee. I know you saw the mudslide in Washington State. A good friend of mine, who I know very well, sadly, lost her oldest daughter, her fiance, her mother and her father, and their house disappeared. And we're gone. It's just in a second, we're gone. And so, you know, all that stuff you get upset about and you think, you know, this is ruining your life. The only thing that ruins your life, folks, is your attitude and your thoughts about it. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. Great. All right, I have another slide here. Not sure what that is. All right, I want to talk about mindset, and everybody's been talking about mindset. You know, interesting, civilians don't understand mindset. But entrepreneurs really do understand mindset. It is a set of beliefs or a way of thinking that determines your behavior and outlook. So here's the big lesson I have for you today. And it might be a little painful, so hang in with me. Are you a growth mindset person or are you a fixed mindset person? Here's a book I really liked. You might want to write it down. It's a very good book. How many of you have kids? Raise your hand. If you have kids, this is a necessary book for you. If you are a boss, this is a necessary book. If you're interested in making a lot of money, this is a necessary book. So the Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, How We Can Learn to Fulfill Our Potential. Okay, here's how we learn. Studies show that some students are caught up in proving their ability. Others just let go and learn. Now, there are two meanings of ability. There's a fixed ability that has to be proven in life, and then there's a changeable ability that can be developed through learning. The world of a fixed mindset, so think civilians, okay? Success is about proving that you're smart, talented, and validating yourself. Here's the shocker. Effort to a fixed mindset person is a bad thing. Now, when I read this, I was like, what the hell? What does this mean? How can this be? This is a bad thing. Failure means that you're not smart enough. And they do not like to show their deficiencies. So people in the government or people in large corporations often will, you know, their loyalty isn't towards the company or the government. It is all about protecting their ass, yes? Yes, so they become non-learners in fixed thinking process and beliefs in what's possible in the world. And I've got an example of that I'm going to show you in a second. Now, what this is called is cognitive dissonance. Sometimes people hold a core belief that is so strong when they are presented with evidence that works against that belief, the new evidence simply cannot be accepted. It would create a feeling that is extremely uncomfortable called cognitive dissonance, a hard word to say. And because it's so important to protect their core belief, they will rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit in with their core belief. How many people know people like that? You're selling something. You're showing them clearly how it will benefit them. But they have some squirrely belief in their head that you're a salesperson, so they don't believe anything you say. You experience that? So what we have to do is just be aware of this. Now, this is I want you to really study this. This is a schoolroom, and the teacher is saying, come away from the window. You don't want to be a child left behind, do you? Now, if you look at the kids, they have blinders on. The tubes say math, writing, and reading. And then there's a little girl looking out the window, and she says, sounds good to me. And then outside the window, it says the arts, science, PE. Now, we are the little girl looking out the window, yes? Our reality is, by the time you're 7 years old, there has been so many non-facts installed in your head of what you are possible in creating for you in your life. That done by well-meaning people, the church, the school system, society, teaching you that you only have so many capabilities, that you have to work through the ladder, you have to do whatever the society says. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. That the more there were rules in life, the more I rebelled against the rules. If everybody's going to the right, I'm going to the left. And so I encourage you to start thinking about where it is you have a fixed mindset on how much money you can make, or impact that you can have, or create what you want in the world. Okay, we're going to talk about us now, all right? Success is about stretching ourselves. We do not assume that we are fully evolved, flawless beings who have nothing to learn. Effort to us is a good thing. It makes us smart and talented. Failure isn't about failure to us. It's literally about not reaching the things that we value, not fulfilling our potential. So a growth mindset doesn't seek challenges. We actually need challenges. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of you are bored. And if you are bored, that is the kiss of death for your success. Because if you are bored, that means that you're not you've become passive. You're waiting for life to happen to you. And that you have to be aggressive when you wake up in the morning. And ask yourself, by the way, questions are how you stimulate your intuition and your creativity and your intellect. Ask yourself, what could I or my staff or my business do today to not only increase our business, to market more effectively, but have a more fun doing it? Questions are the secret to everything. The bigger the challenge, the more we stretch. Most entrepreneurs, we're wired to be growth. Here's one of my favorite little posters. They laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at them because they're all the same. Yes? Thank you. One clap. All right, I'm killing it here. I'm going to give you some examples of a closed mindset. How many of you remember John McEnroe? All right. Some of you who go, John who? But anyway, his mindset was talent was everything. If you had talent, nothing else counted. He felt special, superior, entitled. It's a very sad story about him being hosted by a lovely Japanese couple, and he actually threw up on the Japanese lady. And the next day, the Japanese lady came to him and presented him with a gift and apologized to him. And he bragged about it, that this was what it was like to be number one. What an arrogant fool. Yes? And we know people like that. So this is a closed mindset. He thought, I can do anything I want to do is because I have talent. A fixed mindset. Now, you deal with a lot of these. I call it the CEO disease. Lee Iacocca. Now, Lee Iacocca brought Chrysler up, made it successful a number of years ago. But then he got this disease called a fixed mindset, where he didn't want to take challenges anymore. So he got rid of the critics around him. He only listened to the people who praised him. And every car he brought out at Chrysler for a while looked exactly the same with slight modifications. And pretty soon the Japanese just overtook him. And Chrysler is not doing very well. We have a growth mindset. Michael Jordan, growth mindset at athlete. He actually has been quoted as saying, because I'm talented, people actually think I'm God, or they worship me. And he said, that makes me very uncomfortable. He said, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost over 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed, and I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I've succeeded. And he's always kept this level head about him, no matter how successful he has been. So, one of the skills that you have to have for manifesting what you want in life, which truthfully gets so muddied every single day by who you are around, is your mental clarity. And so that is the secret to really success. Your beliefs determine what you can manifest. So Napoleon Hill, and I'd like you to notice at the bottom of the slide, New Thought Movement, American author in the area of New Thought Movement. The reason it's called this is because for so many years, we have been taught by closed mindset educational patterns and other people of this is the way you live life, this is what you're capable of doing. Napoleon Hill was one of those first people who broke out of that into, no, there is unlimited possibilities of what you can create in life, and don't let people tell you you can't. And he said, first comes thought, then organization of that thought into ideas and plans, then transformation of those plans into reality. And in the beginning, as you will observe, it is your imagination. Now, I can tell you, as a child, I used to sneak out at night, and we had like 10 dogs, all kinds of dogs. And I would lay under the stars, and I would literally ask myself, what am I going to do? You know, I'm isolated back in the middle of nowhere. Childhood, very, very difficult, not sure I'm going to survive. And what am I going to do? And I remember being outside, just using my imagination, thinking about my future. And I actually know that it's my imagination that has created my success. You know, as Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe. And as much as you know this, how many of you in the room have read Think and Grow Rich? Okay. How many of you visualize every single day? Excellent. How many of you have sexual fantasies? To the guy in the race 2 in the back, are you having them now? We'll talk. I claim my power to manifest in this world with my mind. I'm a physical woman, but I am unlimited in my thoughts of what I can do. And instead of allowing and seeing successful people getting best-selling books and million-dollar houses and the lifestyle that they want, and me thinking, oh, I could never do that, I think just the opposite. I think if they can do it, I can do it. I really do think that. And again, this was out of desperation. I had no one telling me those things, but I used my imagination to just everything I've ever done, from every sale I've ever made, you know, from selling radio time to selling anything. Before I go on that sale, I imagine sitting in the car, going in the door, smiling at them, and selling them, getting the check. I never made a sales call in my entire life that I did not visualize the end result of exactly what I wanted it to be done and the steps to get there. Did I sell everybody? No. But was I strong enough from that power to go to the next one, even through rejection? Yes. If you're not using this incredible skill of your imagination, what the hell? It's your imagination. It doesn't cost you anything, right? I was at a personal growth seminar many years ago, and what the teacher was talking about, creating a creation place in your mind. And so at the end of the presentation, all the people were sharing their creation place, and one guy said, oh, I created this little cabin on the river, and everybody was talking about their little creation place, and I said, oh. And I was a little embarrassed when it was my turn. They said, well, what was your creation? And I said, this big estate on the water, you know, $1 million house and all this stuff. And they all looked at me like I was crazy because they were civilians. Because it didn't cost me anything to think about that. I am currently building my $1 million estate on the water. In about 3 months, it will be finished. It's been a long time coming. I bought the land at the top of the price if you could buy the land 8 years ago. And then I saved for 8 years the money to do it. Because Bank Milteer is financing this house, okay? Yes? You know, I got spooked a couple of times. We get spooked, we're human beings, like, well, you know, the economy. And you know, I'm just tired of waiting for what other people think is the right time for me to start living my life. How about you? Yes, I'm just like over it. I'm going to live my life, and I'm not going to live like other people give me advice to live. Have you noticed you have to pay attention to who gives you advice? But your imagination is so important. Okay, so here's a real big secret. What's holding you back is the thought that something is holding you back. Does that make sense? Grades don't measure intelligence, and age doesn't define maturity. And God knows your relatives should prove this, yes? One of the next skills I really want to talk about is to avoid the shiny object syndrome. And this is one of our Achilles heels. We are very distracted by shiny objects. Now I'm going to show you one. Now, I just caught this off the internet. I honestly have done no research on who did this, but all right, as a business coach, and I get people bringing me ideas all the time, I'm looking at this thinking, well, you know, if they're saying, if their argument is on how to sell this exercise, you realize that the biggest exercise equipment's function is holding up clothes in your bedroom. Yes? That's a joke, laugh. The other thing is how many, you know, the cost of bringing this thing to the market would be astronomical. It's such a small niche. And so, you know, we're so easily distracted by ideas. And if you chase two rabbits, you're not going to catch either one. And this is where I want you to be very careful. Your success in life is determined by 5 types of energy: mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. And how you spend that time every day is going to determine where you end up. And so think about it, your mental energy, your emotional energy, your passion, your enthusiasm, your physical energy, what you're doing every day, your spiritual energy. You know, there is an invisible power around us that if you haven't tapped into, boy, you are really missing the boat. We know that there is electricity. We know there's microwaves. That we know there's wireless stuff. Why don't you believe there's also an invisible power that helps you and guides you, and that you should count on it and follow it, yes? And so, you know, I want you to use all, in your financial energy, use your money carefully. Use it how it works for you. So the real secret to me, for all entrepreneurs, is to figure out and capitalize on exactly where your natural talents are. When I was growing up, my nickname was Motor Mouth. Okay? Kind of worked out for me, yes? So you go back in your life. So the first thing I ever did well in life was that speech. Still didn't get it at the time. First thing I excelled at in life was sales. Still didn't get it at the time. That my natural abilities in life are selling and communicating and influencing. So why am I not capitalizing on that as much as possible? When I was growing up, my father was crazy, but he had some good points to him. And I remember one time I was about 13 years old, and he said to me, you know, Lee, I think it's very, very important that you prepare for a really good career. And I said, why is that, Dad? He said, because you are definitely not marriage material. And so we have to figure out what it is that we do well, yes? And stop trying to be other people. Be authentic. When I first started being a speaker, I didn't understand being authentic. I really tried to be everybody else. I was kind of Zig Ziglar in a skirt, and Dan said that was terrifying to think about. But if I try to emulate other people, what happens is I end up looking like an imitation of someone else. So in your marketing, even though we can have swipe and deploy and all that good stuff, if you're not really tapping into your authentic personality and what you're doing original and shoving it out there, and no, you're not going to be all that popular with certain people, and there will be criticism, you're missing the boat. Because in the world of celebrity and athletes and the people who really make it, and the reason I'm on stage today versus when I started 20 years ago, those other 150 speakers that I started with who are not even around today, is they followed the road of what you were supposed to do, and I didn't. I followed my own role. And was there mistakes? Oh my God, yes. I mean, every mistake you can make. Were there failures? More than I could tell you about in a day. But you've got to focus on what you do well and do it so damn well. And don't get caught in greed, because greed will take you off your path. So you hear people talk about, oh, you can be a dentist and flip real estate. Now I know I'm going to piss somebody off saying that, but too bad. No, you can't. You could chase 2 rabbits here. Chase your own rabbit. Are you with me? And by the way, teach your kids to do this too, not to be always following in line with everybody else. Influence. Who's influencing you? When I first became a speaker, I went to the National Speakers Association in Phoenix, Arizona, and I had to borrow clothes and money because we stayed at the Camelback Inn. The Camelback Inn was a very expensive place at the time, and I remember when they quoted I was so broke at the time, when they quoted the fee on the phone, I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? And I ponied it up, borrowed the money, borrowed the clothes, marched my ass over to Phoenix, Arizona. I was going to be a speaker. Yes. Yes, thank you. One more clap. Across the hall from the National Speakers Association, which was okay, but my gut didn't feel truth. Across the hall was this guy named Dan Kennedy. And he was having a seminar, smart, piggybacking off the National Speakers Association. He was from Phoenix. And so I go over there, and I'm sitting in the room, and oh my God, this is like word candy out of this man's mouth. And energetically, it was true. He felt true. How many of you feel that way? Yes, we love Dan. And so at the end of his presentation, and I jokingly say he was trolling for clients, and he always says, I resent that. And he put up a sign and said you could get 15-minute consultation. And so I signed up. I got 4:45, and it was going to be over at 5. And at 4:45, I show up, my borrowed clothes, and I sit down, and the look on his face of sheer annoyance. Another broke woman. Whippy-doo. And so he is tired by the end of the day, and he's not the gentle Dan we know today, okay? And he crosses his arms and he says, well, before we get started, let me tell you, I don't like working with women. And I said, I don't care, I have 14 minutes left. And he fell in love with me, okay? Does that make sense? Because I was refreshingly truthful and honest, and I stood up for myself. And anybody who knows me knows I will stand up for myself, that I am not afraid of anyone. If you grow up with a 6'5", 285-pound alcoholic father who has rages, if you can stand up to that, everybody else is a piece of cake. I mean, that's like nothing. I don't really care what you have to say. I'm not afraid of you. And so Dan saw a little talent in me, and what happened was literally at that 15 minutes, the next person didn't show up, and he gave me 15 more minutes, and then I think he felt sorry for me, so he and Pete the printer took me to dinner. And at the end of dinner, he said to me, I know I said I don't like working with women, he said, but you have something. You have a passion and a desire that is authentic. I will help you. And so I was very fortunate to have this person who guided me with truth statements, not just how to become a pretty speaker and how to, have great slides and all that stuff. So again, what is your focus in life? I hope I don't offend anyone here, but why do we talk about influence? Why do we call it alternative medicine when the original medicine that humans have been taking for thousands of years, chemical medications, were discovered about 100 years ago? And yet, most of you have been programmed by television that you have to have chemicals, yes? And that a lot of you are actually a little reluctant because it's woo-woo to have something natural. This is all brainwashing, folks. I want you to really question. And Dan and I talked about this at dinner last night. He said, isn't it fascinating how the drug companies have now do all these commercials about the chemicals, and then they tell you at the end, this could cause death, diarrhea, fainting, and every other bad thing. And he said, the American public is so friggin' stupid and dumb, they're like, oh, that's okay, it gets rid of my symptom, I'm fine with that. Lambs to slaughter, lambs to slaughter. So I'm just sharing you've got to really question what you believe because it's going to determine your success. Now, vision, fly to the future. Your job when you get home from this event is to literally take all the things that you've learned and really check it out in your mind. Fly to the future. That means use your imagination and figure out what are the tools and the strategies and the people that I can use and how can I use them. And instead of physically spending money and do things, play it out in your head. So when I'm getting ready to think about doing something or partner with someone or JV or any kind of marketing, I literally play things out. I fly to the future and see what it's going to look like. Here's very important, write this down. Money never starts an idea. It's always the idea that starts the money. Does that make sense to you? It's your creative ability that attracts. There is a law of attraction. And when you have an idea that is authentic and right and true, you will attract that to you. In fact, there is nothing on earth that will attract success to you more than you stop pretending to be something you're not and be authentic. That means really allow your true self to show. Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge, and I truly believe that. And if you do only what you know you can do, you're never going to do very much. And so here's the thing. What's the worst thing that can happen? Go for what you want. One of the skills of success, I believe, for manifesting has got to be optimism. And I have to tell you that even amongst entrepreneurs, there is this learned negativity to not be open-minded to optimism. When my husband got killed, about 9 months into it, where my friends were getting very, very nervous that I was in a very, very dangerous state, one of my friends brought over this. What a wonderful thought it is that some of the best days of our lives haven't happened yet. And she stuck it on my bathroom mirror. And I actually realized, I started to believe that instead of my life is over. Does that make sense? If I could share with you, if you really could fly to the future, that there is so much opportunity for you in the world today because the civilians are become so dumb, the government is so insane, the world is so chaotic that it is the people who have the balls to get up and do what you want to do and strike your own path that literally are going to make your life for yourself. By the way, for the parents who raised your hand, the attitude that you have as a parent is what your kids will learn from more than what you tell them. They don't remember what you try to teach them. They remember who you are. So for example, when I was growing up, my dad was a big reader. And so I observed him reading. And so I read over 100 books a year, easily read books. I'm a big knowledge person. My father didn't take crap from anyone, and I am my father's daughter. And so that was incredibly powerful me. As hard as that childhood was, it made me, as therapy told me, lots of hours of therapy, that it was the boot camp for a successful life. So those people today who are raising children who do not allow them to have any adversity, that every time they go play in a game, everybody wins, is not preparing them for the real conflict of life. Yes? That is such bullshit to treat children as if the whole life is going to be one big entitlement mess. Clap for that. Yes. I have no tolerance for that. I mean, you really got to skin your knees occasionally. All right, determination is one of the greatest skills of life. One of my mottos here in my Annie Oakley, I absolutely love. And if you've never read about Annie Oakley, just so you know, her rifle sold for $1.2 million 2 months ago. Wouldn't you love to have been her relatives? Aim at a high mark and you'll hit it. No, not the first time, nor the second, maybe the third, but keep on aiming and keep on shooting, and finally you'll hit the bullseye of success. So when I was a little girl, the posters I had up weren't of the Beatles or any of that. They were of people like Calamity Jane, Annie Oakley, things like that. I knew that if you wanted to be success, you had to go for it. So if you're searching for that one person that will change your life, look in the mirror. Truly, look in the mirror. Nobody is going to do it for you. I'm sure you have noticed. None of us get any subsidies from the government, right? All right, integrity, another skill that you've got to have. This is a small world. If you screw over your clients, if you screw over other people, people remember that. The one thing that I'm very proud of is that I can always look in the mirror. And how many of you will agree if you weren't filled with integrity, you'd probably make more money? But you know what? It's okay. We have to live with ourselves. Our integrity, we're setting an example for the world. I love this. You know, dear, karma's only a bitch if you are. Another thing I'd like to share with you, one of the skills for manifesting is get along with others, and that means you have to train people on how you want to be treated by them. If you let people abuse you, if you have client, I just fired a client yesterday. He was a client who kept thinking that my contracts could be paused. Okay? It's like I have a year contract with you, and suddenly, he wants to pause the contract. And, I did it for him once, and I said to him, I'm going to make this one exception. I've never done it in 13 years with the Millionaire Smarts program. And he had kind of a lame excuse, but I just, okay, that's fine. And then he wanted to pause it again, but had no real excuse. And, I decided he wasn't an A-class client. He caused me aggravation. It was like heartburn. And, it's like you feel trapped by these people. And why are we dealing with them? Because we feel like we have to deal with them. And I finally said, I'm over this. I don't want to put up with this. If I set this precedent, because we're a small world, if I set this precedent of letting one of my clients come in and out of my contracts at their, anytime they want to, other people will know that. My word means nothing. Have you noticed that Verizon let you come in and out of your contract? Yes? And other people hold you to the contracts. So I'm very big on teaching people how I want to be treated, and I treat other people with respect. But you've always got to have your boundaries and your time management. And so, I teach a lot of time management and personal boundaries, and we script out our days, and we do the things in life that make us successful. By the way, great people talk about ideas, average people talk about things, and small people talk about other people. I'm sure you've noticed that. Those are the civilians. So you've got to make a mental note to make sure that you are a great person. And that when you have this desire to judge and talk about other people, you are the one who looks small. Action is the secret for success. It really is. I've done some seminars where I call ceiling huggers. They think that you can just meditate and just kind of dream and wish for success and it's all going to happen. The truth is, it's the action. You've got to take action, and you don't always know how you're going to do it. Like when I decided to become a professional speaker, honest to God, I had no idea how I was going to do it. I was in commercial real estate. I was totally sick of it. I knew I didn't like it, and I had an opportunity to make a sales presentation, and I made it and closed the entire room. And that day, I quit commercial real estate, went to the printer, and had cards printed up that said, Lee Milteer, professional speaker. That was my training. I became a professional speaker. I claimed it. Yes? Claim it. So whatever you're doing, stop waiting for the universe to open up the doors and say it's time to do it. What you really want to do is claim what you want. Just become the person that you want, and you will attract that to yourself. Dear optimist, pessimist, and realist, while you guys were busy arguing about the glass of water, I drank it. The opportunities. We are capitalists at heart. And you can't get involved with what other people think. You have to take action. And by the way, you can't have $1 million dream with a minimum work ethic. Dan said something, I think it was the first day, about the evil 1%, and then he jokingly said, the ones who work all the time, right? I don't know any entrepreneurs who live by that book, The 4-Hour Workweek. That is civilians buy that stuff, okay? Now, there might be good stuff in the book, but the concept is insane. If you think that the world is going to give you what you want with no effort, then, that's delusionary thinking. You have to work hard. And you have to have great perseverance. That's a major skill of success. And a true test of a person is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in conflict and great stress. Here's one of my favorite quotes of all time. There's only one way to avoid criticism: do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. Because you're going to get criticized. I did public seminars for 6 straight years, 9 to 4, and they would fill in these reviews. And people would say things like, your lipstick and your cheek colors don't match. And you know, I'm like, my God, I spent a whole 6 hours teaching you how to be successful, and the one thing you focused in, you civilian idiot, is my lipstick and my cheek colors don't match, and other sundry things. Now, what you probably don't know, how many of you are speakers and coaches? Raise your hand. What people don't know who fill out those forms is that as tough as we are, that stuff hurts. That when you try to give your heart, and everyone in you can relate to this, all of you have customers and clients and patients. And none of your customers, your clients, and patients have a clue what it takes to put your rodeo together, and the amount of hours that you work at it, and the effort and the money, right? And then you get these cheap shots at you. And you know, does it hurt? It does hurt because we care. See, it doesn't hurt if you don't care. But when you really care, it does hurt. So I always say to people, look for the good, try to uplift people. One of the things you have to have as a skill for success is a mastermind or a good counsel. I am very fortunate in my life. I've been in a lot of mastermind groups, and it's saved me a lot of money because we get emotionally attached to our ideas. And sometimes those ideas are like that lawnmower on the bicycle, and even though we're all excited about it, it really doesn't have legs to go. We need someone who is not emotionally attached to us and literally helps us show us. And good counsel. I'm very lucky I have Dan as like my best friend. Occasionally Dan will call me up and say, I could kick your ass. What? He says, you know, what are you doing? And I appreciate that because everybody needs someone to wake them up when you're going in a wrong direction. So here's a simple thing in life. Are you happy? If you're happy, keep going. If you're not happy about something in your life, it's time to change. Does that make sense? It's really simple. And a lot of us just get stuck in the same path. So I'm going to share with you, I have a solution for you. And if you don't know this, I'm part of I lead Peak Performers. I've been leading Peak Performers now for a number of years, originally with Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer for 4 years, and then now for the last 2 years. So it's an adventure to become an ability to sharpen your mindset for clarity and implement big ideas. Your course of life will be changed by being around people who are all of your like mind. So let me tell you who Peak Performers is not for. It is not for civilians. It's not for people who don't have an up and running business. It is not for people who are moaning, pissing, and complaining people. I will tolerate that 0. It is not for people who don't have a good work ethic. It is not for people who are victims in life. We are only looking for very strong players. So let me tell you what you will experience. I help people. I can smell money. I can tell you where their money is. I'm very good at that. And everybody has ideas, but you've got to have ideas that are actually reasonable that you can make money with. And it's the right time. Timing is very important. You can have a very good idea right now, but it might be before its time, which means that you may have to work years in advance to prepare for it. I literally prepared to be a speaker about 4 years prior to actually becoming a speaker. I read probably about 400 or 500 books. I went to every seminar there was. I learned. Creative time and energy boundaries. How to have productivity and creativity, because you get into ruts too. You got to get out of those ruts. And one of my secrets is I am an empath. I mean, I'm intuitive. And when you come from very severe childhoods, your ability to feel becomes very strong. And so I can see people's blind spots. And so in part of Peak Performers, we put you on a hot seat. And we have Peak Performers in the room can tell you that seat gets very, very hot. But it changes their life. And you've got to put yourself in that position. And we have the great Dave D, who has breakthrough ideas, marketing challenges solved, marketing materials amped up, and your business will be transformed. My other partner is the wonderful DRC, marketing funnels, marketing campaigns completed, marketing plans done, and lead generation systems. And let me just share, 2 meetings ago in Peak Performers, Darcy and I got everyone in the room to write a book in 2 days. Not only did we get everybody to complete a book, which was always on people's bucket list, but we got a few of them on the best-selling list. And there's accountability. We take time to actually do those things, so you never walk out of those rooms without that. But we're trying to do a combination which most coaching programs don't do. A combination of actual marketing that really works, and then the mindset to not let anything hold you back. So you have to ask yourself this important question. Who is influencing you right now? Because if you are hanging around civilians, if you're hanging around your neighbors, you get influenced. And by the way, I teach this stuff and I get influenced. Recently, I had a new neighbor move into my neighborhood, and you see him only pretty much at the mailbox. And he says to me one day, you know what upsets me? Is these people who are parking their sailboats, I live right on the beach, right in front of our house. And I'm thinking, well, this is Virginia Beach, Virginia, dude. It is a public beach. People can do that. And didn't think anything else of it. Every time I saw Paul, he ragged about these people who didn't live on our beach like we owned it, and how they shouldn't be parking their boats in front of us. Before I knew it, I was saying, you know, there's these people parking in front of our house. They shouldn't be doing that. And my husband said, where the hell did you get that? You know, it's so easy to we're not even aware of how easy it is to get influenced by other people. So Dan I don't know how many of you realize this, but Dan is the biggest mindset guy there ever was. I mean, he really understands from a man who also has pulled himself up from nothing. He said, mindset is the secret link. You have to have success. And he basically says, I'm the person who can do that for you. So if you believe Dan, this is a program you should be really interested in having. I would like for you to be part of our group, and I have a few peak performers I'm going to ask to come up now to share with you, instead of me sharing with you, some of their experience. So we have about 6 peak performers. Run, come on. Do we have a mic? Mic? Okay, I think we have everything but a microphone. We don't need a mic. Yes, we do. Sorry. Mics? Run. Faster. By the way, while we're waiting for the mic, how many of you got a card under your door last night? This is Jimmy. I have a suite, so I got 2 cards, 2 doors. He has been in our marketing group. Now, this is the kind of creative thoughts that you're going to get. Taking action. He is a vendor here. So, Sean, tell us your experience about Peak Performers.
All right, so I've been in Peak since it restarted, so I'm in my 3rd year, and Peak's been phenomenal for us. We've, because we do get the business stuff. That's where Dave comes in, and you get in that hot seat, and so we get that. We get stuff from Darcy, where she's talking about our lead funnel. We've been able to increase our conversions of leads into phone call appointments, which is how we sell. But the relationships too. I mean, all these people up here I'd consider friends. Many of them I talk to in Peak. I talk to many of those people after the meetings, on a monthly basis. I mean, it's a good group of people who understand your thought process, your business, who get to know you. And so you get all the learning, plus you get all the benefits of just, like I said, getting to hang out with people who are, at least for me, these guys are all smarter than I am. So, getting to hang out with them and chat and learn from them. So it's an incredible experience.
Thank you. Ginger.
I'm Ginger Gay Hollowell, and I think I'm the poster child for Lee's talk, because when I started with Peak, I got in one of those hot seats, and I got exposed myself. And Lee said I was a vibrating victim. I was blaming everybody around me for my woes, the bad economy, you name it. And when I was exposed to this. I had to change and move in a different direction, and her mindset training has shifted me. And now I'm empowered and I'm confident, and instead of thinking of myself as a credit card processing salesman, I think of myself as serving small businesses, and I have other services to offer them. And another valuable thing about Peak is you're up and close and personal with the smaller group, and you're right there with D'Arcy and Dave and Lee and the examples of the other Peak members. They're trying this and it's working, and they're using this, it's working. And thirdly, that mastermind is phenomenal. When I'm back in my civilian life, hanging around with my friends, the conversation is the politics and the government and woe is this and woe is that. And you have to almost come home and shake all that negative energy off of you. But a couple nights ago, I was hanging out with my Peak friends at the bar, and the conversation is about where they've traveled and their positive experiences, and they're building a new custom home. And gee, they've taken all these marketing principles and grown their own business, so now they're gonna buy another business and a third business and build wealth, and they're lifting other people up in the process. So Peak to me has transformed my mindset and my marketing systems, and the money flow used to be going the wrong way, and now it's coming the right way toward me. Yes. So grow your income and join Peak.
Thank you so much. Marketer of the Year, yay!
Yay.
Woo!
At least for another day. So if you're in this room, chances are you love business. And I love to play in business, and what Lee has done personally, the people up on stage, people in the audience that are members of Peak, they basically helped me play a bigger game in business. It was in Peak where I got to develop great relationships with Walter, and didn't even think it was possible to win Marketer of the Year. But, you know, I love Walter, and I said, if Walter can do it, Jimmy Nicholas can do it too, you know? And, you know, we support each other. It's a great group, and I just ask you to think to yourself, how big do you want to play, and do you want to elevate your game? Because inherently, when you get a part of a group like this, you're going to play a bigger game of business.
Thank you so much.
Hello. I'm Wally Conway from Jacksonville, Florida. Second year in Peak with Lee, enjoying every minute of it. The 20 years before that, I ran a home inspection building consulting company in Jacksonville, Florida. The 20 years before that, I was a Naval Academy graduate and a Navy pilot. When you're a Naval Academy graduate and a Navy pilot, you're very easily, you buy lots of things that look like tactics and procedures and systems and checklists. Maybe like you, a lot of things from the back of the room you piled up and didn't implement. So my wife signed me up in Peak with Lee so that I could better implement. First day at Peak, I got to sit at the cool kid table with Sean and Jimmy. Jimmy had just gotten his book to #1 on Amazon. I was amazed. That was pre-Marketer of the Year. How did you do that? And we drew it out on a napkin. By the next Peak meeting, I had a #1 book on Amazon.
Woo!
So then, my buddy Sean, I'm telling him, I've been trying to do this newsletter for 19, almost 20 years. He says, we can do that. Ended up with a newsletter, again, by the next Peak meeting. It was really moving on a good thing. The question becomes, it's not just about hanging out with the cool kids, which is really a fun and positive thing, but it's the mindset that Lee brings to the mix. So to take that tactical and strategic mindset and cause it to implement and do things, she did 2 tricks on me that she did, I think, on everybody. One was the idea of scripting. Write it as you believe it should be. I begin every single day, and so it is. The healthy, wealthy, and wise, Wally Conway, easily, effortlessly, and enjoyably, grossed $2 million in 2014 with $500,000 net to Tanya and me. Now, the year's not yet over. We haven't done that yet, but I'm thinking and working on it every day. The other cool thing we did, it was our second Peak meeting, was the idea of vision boards. We get a note ahead of time that says, bring 10 magazines with you that look like things you enjoy, you desire, or you're passionate about, because we're going to do vision boards. I thought that's the goofiest darn thing I ever heard. So I brought my 10, everybody else brought their 10, so we've got 300 or 400 magazines laying around. I got my big piece of cardboard, and I start cutting stuff out and sticking it on my board. And all of a sudden, it clicked. I could exactly see it. I have photo business cards. I cut my head out on my card and stuck it on each one of the pictures, and it was me in the picture. That vision board sits in my office. I have 2 chairs where people come into my office. I got a nice big desk, and between me and them is my vision board. And as I'm listening to what's on their mind, I'm looking at my vision board, and if it doesn't fit, they leave. Yeah. So I encourage you, go to the back of the room, get your tactics and whatnot, come to Lee and get your mindset right for production.
Thank you so much. Fabulous.
Walter?
Walter?
I'd like to quote Lee real quick. She says that your point of power is in this very moment. And I've had the privilege of having 2 such moments with Lee and Peak Performers. The very first one was during our very first meeting. Within less than 5 minutes of seeing Lee, she came up to me and says, "You have a personal esteem issue." I didn't know this woman very well. And she says, "You need to go out and take control of your own destiny." And because she said that, and because it kind of hurt, I did. I went and took action. And less than 30 days later, I had become the 2012 Market of the Year right here in Dallas. And the second time that happened, thank you. So, and the second time, which was even more transformational, we were at the very last Peak meeting, and just so happens my wife and my 9-year-old son were sitting in the back of the room, and she says, "Walter, you are truly unhappy with what you're doing. Have you ever considered selling your business?" And I had never even thought about this. This was the company I was going to run until I died or retired or whatever it was. And she brought my son and she brought my wife up there, and most of these guys here were here, and there were tears, and it was tough. And 90 days later, I actually sold that company for $10+ million and retired and took the entire last year off. And so that was a true transformation. Thank you. And Lee, from me and my family, thank you so much for being a part of our life and helping me transform. And if you're interested in how to do that $10 million sale, come and find me. I'm happy to share it with you.
Thank you so much.
That's a tough story to follow. I didn't sell my companies for that much money. I've been involved in Peak for just going on a year now, and it's been tremendously impactful. I've been in business for 25+ years, business owner most of that time, and being with Lee, I'd get to a certain spot. This is what happened in one of my hot seats. I'd get to a certain spot, I'd go pretty quickly, get there, and that spot would kind of move, but then I would stop. Everything would slow down to a crawl. So I'm at a hot seat with Lee a couple times to go back in December. And she kind of gives me some ideas. I'm going, oh, wow, yeah, that might be the problem. Since then, it's happened. I've got a business that I've had for quite a few years with my sister. That's growing at a fairly good pace in an industry that's not growing. And then my business that I'm working with now, I work with social media. My business is doubling and accelerating monthly, actually, for that. So that's been wonderful. Another thing that Peak has been for me is I've done a lot of work on the local and regional groups and different things. Well, coming to Peak, I'm looking at the group of people that are on this panel that are there. Walking to that first meeting was really hard. I've never been involved with a group of this caliber before, wondering if I can help them, how I'm going to fit in, what's going to happen at the meeting. And I'm sitting at the first meeting, and one of them had a hot seat. I can't remember, it might have been, I'm not sure which ones it was, hot seat. And I'm going, wow, I have that same issue that you've got. Ooh, that's kind of cool. And so on, as you watch the hot seats and as the people are going through that, we're all working on similar issues. So it's been a fabulous experience.
Thank you so much. Give them a big hand, folks. Thank you. Thank you. It's a great honor for me to work with such people of great caliber, and that's who we're looking for at Peak, people who will bring to the table what these people bring to the table. So we've got them on the stage already, great. So here's Peak Performers. I'll help you overcome any of your challenges, assist you with marketing blueprints, serious money to be made in the group. By the way, we do something kind of different than most groups. We actually encourage you to work together. There are people in the group who have made over $1 million in the group just working with the people in the group. You align yourself with like-minded people. How many of you have relatives who don't understand you at all? Yes? Yes? They think you are either working at home or, that magically things are happening. And also you have neighbors who don't understand you. And some of you have childhood friends you're still hanging around with who are truly civilians now, but you feel entrepreneurs tend to be overly loyal, but loyal to a fault usually, where we will sacrifice ourselves and we start to buy into that. But you've got to align yourself with other people. So Dave, Darcy, and myself are mentors. It's like Dave and I particularly have been self-employed and run our own business for a long time, so we really do understand the problems and the challenges. And it's very unhealthy for most entrepreneurs. We're actually very lonely people a lot of the times because we're so lonely. Our friends don't understand us. So what's included? Here's the bottom line. There are 4 two-day meetings. You are requested to come 3 out of the 4. All the meetings are recorded, so if you miss a meeting, the CDs are sent to you right away of the entire meeting with all of the materials. You are allowed to bring 1 guest. This is important. It can be your spouse, it can be your business partner. And we also have these meetings always on Thursdays and Fridays, and we have them in destination cities. We're trying to leverage being in different cities so that not only can you meet clients, but you can take a tax-deductible vacation. You can do things in those cities to enjoy yourself. Your meetings include, obviously, presentations from the 3 of us, a project to implement. For example, 2 meetings ago, the project was that you're going to write a book. There's no questions about it. Every person in this room is going to write a book. And Darcy and I had a 21-step program on how to do that. There is masterminding in the group. In other words, we're going to break you up and you're going to do actual masterminding with other people. And here's something we do that not everybody does. In our 2 days, you are going to have time to implement some of your projects right there. That means that if you get stuck, not only do you have other people in the room to go to say, hey, I'm writing this marketing funnel, or I'm on this sales letter, or I'm thinking about going after this group and you're not sure about it, you have someone to talk to right then. We have productivity and boundary strategies. We have the hot seats with Dave on marketing and myself, and we have open question and answers. And here's something that most of you don't have, you desperately need, is a little bit of accountability. So at the end of our meetings, we ask people, it's a volunteer, to stand up and publicly announce their book is going to be finished. I'm going to lose X number of pounds. I'm going to do this or that. And in the next meeting, you get to stand up and share with the group what you've done. And as Dan says, for an entrepreneur to have that they've made a public announcement they're going to do something, our honor system is so strong, we have to get it done in spite. We don't let everything else get in the way. Here are the dates and locations. Our next meeting is going to be in May and September in Atlanta, and we're working on the 2015. Now, there is a lot of support between our 4 meetings. For example, there is a 60-minute call live with Dave and Darcy and myself to answer any questions that you may have had about the existing meeting. Like, I'm thinking about doing this certain project. What do you think? Also, 8 times a year from my office in Virginia Beach, Virginia, I pack up and do a seminar for you on something relevant to inspire entrepreneurs. It could be on negotiation strategies. It could be on time management and boundaries, or how you deal with your employees, or how to hire people, how to fire people. But there's something each month that's coming to you to keep you excited. One of the greatest benefits that happens is that you actually get the lowest registration for the Info Summit and the SuperConference. And I want to tell you something, folks. At the back of the room, there are going to be information I don't have time to tell you about, but the savings of being part of Peak Performers is mind-boggling if you are part of this group. And we also have the Diamond membership, which is phenomenal. Each month you get the Diamond membership card. You get to be in the membership out here. The Diamond membership is a very powerful thing. Also, we like to reward at GKIC people who take action. So one of the things we do is give them support materials. I'm going to gift you I've sold 1 million copies of this, and it's called Reinventing Your Life Success Self-Programming. It literally will tell you 10 things that you can do with internal power to create external power. I'm also going to give you my best-selling program called The Secrets of Implementation. I interviewed people like Bill Glazer and Ron LeGrand. I saw Ron earlier today. And Dan Kennedy, and high-powered people on what they do to cut through the clutter to implement in spite of what's going on with the economy and other things. We have 6 training online programs that you're going to get to prepare you. These are worth literally a fortune. Adversity to Overcoming Blueprint, Extreme Productivity Blueprint, and Absolute Autonomy Blueprint. And then we have Bill Glazer's Newsletter Blueprint, Outrageous Advertising, and here's one that's incredible, the Lost Customer Reactivation. If you folks could go back and go get your old customers, you would make so much more money, and most of you walk away from them and forget about them. You just keep, like a shark moving ahead on world, but you need to go back and get some of those customers. And Dave D has a great program on how to use email marketing that you're going to get. So just so you know, this is $4,612 worth of support education that you'll receive before you even come to the very first meeting. And the reason we're doing that, it's because we want everyone to be so sharp by the time they get to the meeting that they are a contribution. In the Peak Performance Coaching, here's your investment. It's $997 a month, and if you have a single pay, you'll save almost $2,000, which is basically 2 months free. Now, for any of you thinking, $997, wow, that sounds like a lot of money. How much money are you leaving on the table every month because you're not doing the things that you should be doing because you're so tied up with busy work, civilians, and other people? If you really think about that, if you could trade $1,000 for really taking a leap into the future, you would do that. So you got to think very big visionary. How many of you have had coaches in your life? Raise your hand. And you know this to be true. A coach will transfer your life in a way that you absolutely cannot do for yourself. Susan is not here today, but Susan was in Peak Performers, and at the end of the year, I have everybody do an end-of-the-year report. And what she said is, for the first time in her life, she made a healthy 6-figure profit from the first time ever, thanks to Peak Performers. And I have a special, something I'm not able to do very often, but I'm able to do here at the SuperConference, is I can only take 7 people. I know a lot of you are interested in this, but I'm only got room for 7 people. And with those 7 people, what I'd like to do is offer you one-on-one coaching once a week for 10 weeks with certified GKIC marketing trainers. In other words, here's what's going to happen. Before you go to your first meeting, you're going to be on the phone with a certified marketing person from GKIC who's been very trained, and you're going to be able to talk to them about your funnel and your customer list and all the things that you need about, and get clear so you've had 10 weeks of one-on-one training before the first meeting ever happens. Now, this is a $2,000 value. When you buy this, it's $2,000 up front. So what this really means is before you even come to Peak Performers, I've already gifted you $6,000 worth of bonuses. And if you think that the investment is $12,000 a year, you're already getting half of that before you start. So here's the thing. How much action will you take to make your life for 2014 different? So if you will join Darcy, Dave, and myself, I don't pass out applications because I'm only really interested in people who are super interested in it, and they'll be in the back of the room. I am going to be in Dave and Darcy for a short time. If you come out this room and go in that direction, it's my left, your right. At the very end, there's a room called the Doolin Room, and I'm going to be there with Dave and Darcy. I'm not going to take anybody's application without meeting you because being intuitive, I usually know if people are right for the program or not. And we're going to answer your questions about the program. So basically, the Peak Performance Program is a program that will give you the push, the motivation, and reignite your passion for what you do. Get you out of that status quo, doing the same things you've always been doing. And if you come to our room and you fill out your applications, then you're going to be invited to our luncheon with Dan Kennedy, Dave, and myself for just our coaching group today at noon. So with that, folks, I want to quote Walter now, and my favorite saying is, your point of power is this very moment in time. To change your life, all you have to do is take some actions. And for goodness sakes, folks, believe in yourself enough to do the right thing so when you look back in your life, you can honestly say, This was one of those moments in time that I took action that totally changed the destiny and the course of my life. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.